a story about a game and how to win that game.
There you go, John. A little one backwards.
There is no right and there is no wrong. And there certainly is no morals or ethics. Radical concept of how to win this game.
Well, my name's Jason Statham. I play Jake Green. He's many, many things. I say essentially he's a con man.
I am rich. Seriously fucking rich.
Dorothy Macker serves a large sentence for him in prison. Comes out, tries to rectify a few of those misdemeanors that were created by the Macker himself.
You have to teach me that trick sometime.
Well, I think Macker and Jake are really the same character, but one took a right turn and one took a left turn.
To seek a bit of personal revenge and to shove a bit of humiliation up Dorothy Macker's arse would be, I'd say, the prime motivation for Jake. Because at the beginning, he's just a pawn, isn't he? But by the end, he's the king. Oh, my God.
Jake sort of represents, all of us. I think we're all sort of chosen to a degree because, we're all players within our own little games.
The perceived enemy is not the real enemy.
The only opponent Jake Green has to challenge and to wrestle is himself. We embody all of these characters. We embody all the aspects of vice. We also embody all the aspects of competition, wanting to play the game and wanting to succeed in the game.
Everybody thinks is themselves is probably not themselves. So he learns that what we know is nothing.
Big fan of Ray's and have been for a long time. I was desperate to use him in something that he could show off again.
Dorothy Macker, yeah. He's a big crook. He's a crim that runs a big casino, and he disposes of people very quickly without a bat of an eyelid.
I want my money back.
He'll pass the death sentence quicker than you'll pass the salt.
No crackheads with sharp sticks acting like silly fucking gangsters.
He's driven by greed and lots of money.
What? He missed.
That is the character of Dorothy Macker.
Zach is a loan shark, and he's partners with Ave. We meet Jake along his journey, and we try to guide him in a different direction.
Excuse me.
Hey, buddy, we're coming through here.
Relax. You're in trouble, Mr. Green. We can help you.
Zach is a little bit of a mystery as to where he's from and what he does. And it's only revealed towards the end of the movie that we kind of know where and how he came to be who he is. Zach and Avi, played by Andre 3000, Andre Benjamin. They're the pivotal two characters of this movie, I'd say. They're a bit of a mystery, but all will be revealed.
Mr. Green. Mr. Green, Avi.
Sit down. My name is Andre Benjamin, and I play the character of Avi. I'm a loan shark. We use Jake's money. We save his life. He doesn't understand the game until the very end.
We've already saved your life once. The next time will not be for free.
Avi, Mr. Avi, smooth as you like.
Revolver. I like the name of it for a start. If you're in a game, the game just keeps revolving until you realise that you're actually in a game, and then maybe you can start evolving. It sort of represents, as I say, a different aspect of our character. The aspect that we might have taken a left turn somewhere and later on decide that the right turn might have been the better idea. So it sort of represents the U-turn within us. I wish to deliver what is seen as an action movie, I suppose. I'd like to see it as a sort of intellectual action movie. It's based upon the formula of a game, and how big is the game, and where does the game start and where does the game stop, who's playing who, and who's conning who.
Games. A world of games. There is always an opponent, and there is always a victim.
Sorry, sir. This table is closed. All the tables are closed.
A germ got stuck in my mind about this particular concept, that it was the con of all cons, the trick of all tricks. One of the greatest con men said, the easiest man to con is the con man himself, which is a sort of lovely idea.
Rule one of any game or con. You can only get smarter by playing a smarter opponent.
At the beginning of the film, there's 4 rules, and the film's cut into 4 sections.
You will always find a good opponent in the very last place you would ever look.
Left a whole snail trail of clues and whatnots and symbologies and numerologies for those that care to indulge themselves.
Checkmate.
How?
The harder the battle, the sweeter the victory.
The chess game itself is very symbolic to, to the movie, to the game. We're in a game. Here's a game. The con of chess, the con of life. It's a huge parallel for the movie, definitely. Why have you gone in?
Rules in chess are simply the rules that are consistent within the con. All cons.
It's got so many little subliminal messages within the rules and the approach to chess.
Check.
It's a killer game.
No, I mean, it's a film about a guy's world and a guy's game, and women are involved within that game.
I'm Miss Walker. I work for Mr. Gold. Do you mind if we walk? We've heard you might be having some problems. Mr. Gold doesn't give more time or second chances.
Sam Gold, obviously within the context of the film, is the opponent.
Gold.
Yes, the Gold. Sam Gold.
Is the force that the individual within the movie has to overcome.
Mr. Gold, thank Mr. Gold for the opportunity to do business with such a great man.
Sam Gold. Everybody wants to get in business with Sam Gold.
Mr. Clandestine.
Mr. Mystery.
That was really what inspired the film, that the devil wasn't a bad guy. The devil was actually just a clever guy.
I think we're all working for him. The script's changed, it's been spun on its head so many times. And even to the point of shooting, we'd be there on set and he'd go, look, we've got some new sides, boom, and he'd write them in. And it's like a constant work in progress with him, That's the way Guy likes to work, and that's what makes him so unique with it as well. Guy shoots very quickly. The setups are done very quickly by Maury Jones. He sticks a plug into a Keener flow and he goes, and all of a sudden you've got this amazingly lit, set. It's amazing how little and how much time he takes to put something into a certain state.
When I was a kid, about American movies, is they're sort of larger than life. I just wanted to look good, and that was about the only request I asked of my DP. But we've done 3 films together, so...
Pete, I'll do one more. No camera shaking or anything.
Okay.
Let's try and get that moment really still.
Okay.
So just one more.
No, you can go again.
Then we do a walk and talk.
Yes.
Right down the entire thing.
Yes.
Square on? Yes. The angle? Yes. Okay.
Let's not see
He must call how long he thinks it's going to take to do his shot, and I will decide whether he's allowed that amount of time or whether he's not allowed that amount of time.
Yes, fair enough.
So if I said 20 minutes and I came in on 4...
Well, you want to got the shot?
Okay.
Guy, you know, he created the whole thing. He had an idea and boom, there it was. Even down to the leery shoes.
Making them so they're all spongy.
Yeah, a little bit greasy and a little bit, you know,
So
making more out of what he's got. I mean, we could give him more hair than what he's got, only in order to sweeten it.
Guy's a unique director who created a style that he was the George Washington of that style, which is fast forward then reverse, fast forward then reverse, 15 seconds earlier, 10 minutes later. You'll see that Guy kind of created that style.
And it's when I'm in LA, I go around all the studios trying to get money, and they all tell me to hop it. In a very polite way, you know what I mean? It took me 2 years to raise the money for this one. Because the concept is quite a deep concept. And because it wasn't just... Trying to raise money for concepts that people can't really understand is hard.
Thank you.
Camera right here, let's do it again. Get in the fucking car! I said get in the fucking car!
I'm not sure if I fall into the camp of being dictatorial or democratic as a filmmaker.
When you open the lift door, go a bit easy. Don't let it just slide to the side. Pull it to the side and hold it still.
I'd like to think that sometimes I can be both.
Now give me a long enough pause that I could steal it if I wanted to, okay? Before you start getting emotional.
Now watch out, cocksucker.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Action.
Look.
2, 1, action.
Look.
Action.
It's a little more. 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, action.
I'm a railroad man. I sure have paid my dues. Don't have much money, but I don't have much to lose.
Okay, play that back, Gary.
Baltimore.
10 balls back. On the end. How was that for you?
What do you mean you weren't rolling?
It's good. It's a great working relationship we have. You know, I understand his language and he's not proud or he ain't got an ego about what he writes. So if you say something's no good, he'll go, really? And he'll listen to you.
Someone holds it, gives it a wrinkle.
When you need to do something that's important, he'll make it, you know, what it needs to be.
Then you look back and then he'll come round.
And then once he settles, I go.
Yeah.
He just makes it fun, you know what I mean? He doesn't take you seriously, but really he does.
I slipped, I didn't overact. I slipped. I slipped.
He has it all worked out in his head. You know what he's looking for.
Billy's going to be more concerned than Mother. Mother's going to be uncontrollable. Yeah. But Billy recognises the sort of serious...
It's technical. He gets what he wants, for sure.
Mr. Macker, I don't believe we've met. I'm Mrs. Walker. I work for Mr. Gold.
And then he gives you freedom to kind of give your interpretation of that's what I've learned working with him.
Now I'm going to say, get in the car. If I wanted to kill you, I would have shot you already.
Yeah.
What Guy let us do with our characters is he let us explore. We didn't change the dialogue too much from the script, but he let us explore. I'm going to come out, and I'm going to start firing, and I'm going to bring it around this way. I'm going to bring it around this way. I'm not going to go this way. And I'll end up in this position. Like it's wild. No, you don't like it?
So by the very nature of filmmaking, it's not a democracy. But that said, it can work very efficiently as a democracy. Well, I don't like Jason. I'd like to make that clear now. I think he's arrogant, terrible chess player, and he thinks he's funny. But apart from the fact that I don't like him, don't trust him, and I have absolutely no respect for him as a chess player, he and I work quite well together. He's low maintenance and very cheap. This is the main reason that I use him.
I think our whole relationship sort of exists on competition, you know? It's whether we're playing chess together, it's whether we're trying to beat each other up. It's always trying to get one over on the other.
Oh, you can't like it. I'm a rare old man.
It's not in like a serious way. It's always done in a piss-takey way, you know? It never really means much if you win or you lose, but there's always a driving force between it. There's a very competitive nature within ourselves.
What are you talking about? Then I'm taking you with that, aren't I? You didn't. You moved back there.
Toughest moment is getting that fucking Gaya Ricci to pay his debts when he loses at chess. He just won't pay up. He just won't accept the loss. That, I have to live with that.
Coming back on the beach.
The movie is set in no man's land.
Not clear where it's set. I think that's a good thing. Doesn't really say what time, what era, where. It's kind of an unknown place.
We shot in the Isle of Man and in London. We did film in Christopher Wren's Naval College in Greenwich, which is an extremely impressive building. If you've not been down there, I recommend a visit when you've got a spare afternoon or two. I found now, having had a band and worked outside of that band, I'm back to my old band. It's good to work with a bunch of people that I like, and I like them very much. So I just find the whole system is much more efficient if I'm working with people that I know. I also know how much the team has to do with the creative process, because filmmaking ultimately is about teamwork.
What we're going to do is do it with a slightly loose head so the frame's got a bit of movement.
Okay. Which can I move out? Any way you want to round,
The illusion of it is it looks like it's about a captain.
Do I give you a rough time though?
No.
You sure?
Yeah. You get impatient.
Yeah, I get impatient.
But you'd also, even if you do shout at me.
Shush, please.
I mean, he's stuck with a lot of the same old team from years back. You know, he's got the same sound crew. But the bones are pretty. We've got Pete Wignall, camera operator extraordinaire.
This way of camera, and let's stay on him for some nice footage as they walk all the way down there.
Yes,
Give us a cutting point.
Tim, I'm guessing 1-3.
The pair of them are just an absolute pleasure to watch.
You didn't know I fucking big pussy took ballet? I studied at Juilliard.
I believe you.
First position, it's called a Pilliard. Could you do that? Could you do that?
That's Charlie Chaplin.
We started this game on set Olympics.
So,
every day, after the first day we did it, I would come to work, you know, looking for the new challenge, you know.
1, 6, 7, 6, 8.
Yeah.
It's technique and all there, isn't it?
That's a bit of unit, Dave.
So, yeah, it definitely is.
Do something with it.
Stop. Oh, you bastard. No,
To a dummy. How are we today? Go a little bit slower.
Jason's game to do all his own stunts. I wouldn't allow him to do all his own stunts because if he, God forbid, broke his legs or whatever it was, then I was knackered for the next whatnot week. So he's his game as a trainer to throw himself down a flight of stairs. I, on the other hand, are not so enthusiastic. There were 3 other people down the stairs.
What attracted me to Revolver was, one, it is a gangster story, as I feel that the gangster stories are the westerns of today's culture. The first time you see me in Revolver, I'm shooting a machine gun.
Get in the car!
I got into the whole the filmmaking business because I was really just interested in making entertaining movies. I mean, funnily enough, I mean, it's quite a violent film, this film, but I like to think that it serves the story. I like to think that it's not violence for violence' sake, and in this particular film, it's actually violence for the annihilation of violence.
Jake, shoot Fred for me.
It's easier than you think. Just one little squeeze. Just like a tube of toothpaste.
Shoot that toad now!
One more step, Abby. Just like a squeeze of toothpaste.
That's very good, Mr. Green. But tell me, does your from a donkey?
This one will make you laugh.
What was your brief to James? I mean, can you talk about the first conversation you had when you first talked about Revolver?
I mean, you know, I can't remember the first conversation, but the idea is that I knew Jim would be initially confused by the concept. And I think he was. So the idea was because we took on two editors initially, and I think we more or less stuck through 2 editors most of the way. Yeah. And Jim sort of led that campaign. But the idea was that I'd let them have a certain amount of material. I mean, they'd read the script and they thought they understood it, and then there was just different degrees of understanding it. So the more and more material that came in, then the more questions he had. So it took some time for him to understand, I think, the different layers, didn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
So it was that was an evolution, and then he became so familiar with the concept that I think we needed to make it more articulate and clarify some of the points as we went along. Otherwise, in the end, we thought we made the film too clear, and that we tried to make it more cryptic. But we were amazed that more people didn't just say, "Oh, blimey, I couldn't see that coming."
The only way to get smarter is by playing a smarter opponent.
And we thought we gave too many clues away. And I think this is a familiarity, is once you're onto the concept, and the concept became, incredibly easy to understand what it was.
The art is for me to feed pieces to you and make you believe you took those pieces because you're smarter and I'm dumber. In every game and con, there is always an opponent and there is always a victim. The more control the victim thinks he has, the less control he actually has.
The film's got a definite style in its editing, and there's some long takes. There's also some quite quick cutting as well. Did this come about during the process, or has it worked out well before?
Well, I think I had a perception of what I wanted. We wanted to make it, we wanted to do something that was original in that department, but I had a concept, and then Jim took that concept a little bit further on. Because we had two editors, it did allow Jim to indulge himself in various concepts.
Because they've done such a good... If you look at a lot of the shots that Guy and Tim have done, how they framed, and each one looks like almost like a photograph, really. And especially the one of the Red Room with Lord John, when he's sitting there. And so shots like that, you just wanted to hold on to for as long as possible. And the same as when Ray's in the hall, after he sees Lily Walker and he walks away. Just try to change the style of editing more or less for each sort of scene.
One of the things I liked about Jim was he wasn't frightened to experiment, and previously with other editors I find they're very traditional in their editing, and Jim had the approach of, I'll try this, I'll try that, and I think you stumble across ideas because of the time and the latitude that an editor's got. You see, I don't want an editor to be, I don't necessarily want him to follow the director. I want him to have his own perspective of what the film's going to be, and if I think it supersedes my idea, then it stays.
You're on your own, Jakey boy.
Move! Were there inspirations that you had? Do you make allusions to other films?
Really, just whatever feels right at the time. I mean, tried not to take anything from another film. Just try and keep it original constantly.
Yeah, but you get inspired from different ideas from films.
Oh yeah, yeah, sure.
You get inspired from different ideas.
You spark off it and you think, maybe you could take this a bit further.
Yeah, I mean, on that Saving Private Ryan, that scene at the beginning on the beach, how that was all put together.
Stop the fucking car! Go on and hold it!
When Jake goes to the doctors and he's sitting at the doctors and he starts to have these memory flashbacks, that scene, because your memory works when you're thinking, you don't see things in a linear fashion when you have a flashback. So we sort of tried to different style in cutting the end of it, the middle of it, and just mixing around, and so it just all muddled up. But I think just from...
That took us a long time to get there too, didn't it?
Because it just didn't work, just putting it as
a
block.
We just had a sort of fundamental flashback, and then in the end, it ended up as that little thing.
Flashy.
Yeah, and we went through, I don't know, how many different scenarios of flashbacks before we came up with that one.
There is something about yourself that you don't know.
Can you talk about the animation sequence and how you incorporated the live action and the animation?
When I first wrote the script, there was a whole animation section, and then Kill Bill came out, and so we parked up our animated section. But then whilst we were editing, there seemed to be, because we had these TVs were involved and we were actually going to do something else. So the TV would be your segue from one world to another world, and there was going to be a whole different story going on the TV, but it wasn't going to be animated. But we were sitting around there twiddling our thumbs one day, and it led us down. I mean, from my perspective, it's a format that has become stagnant to a degree, filmmaking, and I think a director's job is to keep challenging that format.
The consequences can kiss my black ass!
So I was very excited about it towards the end, weren't you? When we finally decided to put it in there, you got excited about it, but you wanted something new. You didn't want it just to be a normal sort of animation. You wanted it to be fresh and original, some new style. We looked at the gorilla stuff and liked that animation. But again, wanted to take another take on that, something a bit more fresh on that, and so they come up with the idea where it's 3D, but they make it look 2D, and they put like sketching over it. With the animation, once you make a decision on it,
you're committed.
That's it.
Yeah.
And so,
well, because each frame is so expensive that you don't want to start cutting them out. In fact, we did cut quite a lot out.
Yeah.
So but you want to have chosen your shots before they undertake them.
I was wondering if you could talk about designing and editing, the Salter shootout scene and his death scene, that whole sequence leading up to when he gets killed. That's all those movements, those lovely movements, and the way it's paced, it's really good fun.
Well, that's quite a lot to do with DP. Tim Morris-Jones, who I've worked with on a couple of occasions before, he's a creative guy, and he likes to come up with different ideas.
At first, the idea was that you were just confused with what the rooms, so it wasn't meant to be like a follow around into the rooms, because he was just meant to keep popping up everywhere and taking people out. But it just takes a long time, because you have to track each individual. You have to put a keyframe in and track it and match it all up.
And we needed 2 days to shoot it, and we only had 1 day. So fair play to Mr. Morris-Jones, my DP, who, because I was in two minds about whether we should commit to that particular format or whether it should be more traditional. But he really pioneered that idea.
Look, Mr. Macca. Oh, don't do it. Very sorry to have woken you. Please listen to me.
Who's that? Mr. Green?
Mr. Macca, please. Sorry to have woken you. Listen to me. Sorry. Listen at how you sound.
There must have been numerous takes of certain scenes, like Jake begging Macca and the Jake's lift scene. Can you talk about the process of editing those kind of scenes? I mean, all these numerous takes and how you...
I kept the camera continually rolling and just kept getting Jason to get the performance and just kept sort of doing different versions, screaming, quiet. So it's just a case of mixing them up, just to show the two different sides. Jake in the lift was, we did do quite a lot of that. It was quite a lot of footage on that one, wasn't there? Because we initially...
we did it 3 times, didn't we?
Yeah.
We did it initially. That wasn't really in the script. I mean, what was in the script was 30 seconds of debate between him and the other him. The first time you cut it was actually probably the best cut you ever done.
Yeah, we done the first cut. I remember that. Because when the footage first came in as well, I wasn't too sure on how it was going to be done. And so I did a version, and I remember when Guy was going to come up, he came up pretty late. I was really nervous about showing it, so I thought he was going to look at it and go, what the fuck is that? But he watched it, he didn't say anything, he said, play it again, and I played it again, he said, that's it. And then you got excited by that and wanted a few more lines to put in there.
That was 8 minutes long then?
Yeah, it was, yeah. It was 8 minutes long.
I could have gone with it for 20 minutes long. I mean, the thing is everything that's being said, we'll get into this later on in the day, but everything that's being said in there, all the tricks of the film, but because they come at you like machine gun bullets, you tend not to pay attention to actually what's being said, but what's being said, if you can ingest what's going on, then it explains everything.
You don't control me. I control you.
How long did it take you to cut the Jake lift sequence?
The first time, I think it was 2 days. A day or 2 days for the first cut.
But you must have spent 2 or 3 weeks on it.
Yeah, after that, because then more and more come in, and additional lines and stuff. So it's a constant thing, and it always felt. If you watched it as a vignette on its own, you know, as Guy said, you could watch it forever. You could watch 20 minutes of it. But when it was in the film, it was just getting the right balance, just to make sure it didn't go on too long and all the right points would come across.
But I think it depends on whether you understand what's going on, doesn't it?
Sure.
Once you understand what's going on, then the scene's interesting.
But if you
don't understand what's going on, then it's just a geezer shouting himself in the lift, and I'm not sure how long you can tolerate a geezer shouting himself in the lift.
That's what I said to you.
Yeah.
First time I saw it, I thought, when is this going to end? Second time, I loved it, and now I don't want the scene to end.
Oh,
I don't want it to end at all. And now it's my favourite part of the film.
Oh, there's no question it's my favourite part of the film.
Really?
And the doors open.
I think so, isn't it?
I don't know, you always like that Lord John bit, the Red Room, with that music.
Yeah, I like the quirk of it, but the film is about the lift scene.
It's very emotive, especially when the doors open and there's Ray saying, fear me, and Jake walks past and the music rises. Now, I've seen the film 5 times now, and I start getting a lump in my throat.
Oh, fair play.
There we are.
I think if you do understand and you understand what's going on there, I think it's halfway through when you see that he overcomes it. It is very powerful if you get it.
It is. How long was the first cut of the film?
The first cut is always going to be long, because what happens is, on the day, you always end up with more time than you... Well, this isn't necessarily true, but sometimes you end up with more time and you've got some top and tail in a scene and you start embellishing different concepts just because you can. And because of that, the editor feels that he's sort of obliged to accommodate the top and the tail, the fat of the scene. So before you know it, you have a 2.5-hour film. Just because we had a bit of extra time on the day, we wanted to see if anything else would work.
I think what we did do, we took a lot of the scenes that didn't help the story go along with... it seemed to be with Billy, didn't it? When we started taking out scenes that involved Billy, and then you didn't see him until the end, and you just didn't get the emotion with the daughter and the father, Jake's brother. So we kept sort of taking those scenes out just for the purpose that it wasn't helping the story go along. We had to put one back right at the last second. That middle one went back in.
Yeah.
And Jake on the bed, that went in at the last second. Just so you keep the characters alive. Yeah.
But once you've pulled the scene out, you'll be surprised how much you don't miss it, though.
Oh, yeah.
It's very rare that you pull a scene out and you really want it back in.
But you can test you by taking stuff out and showing and seeing if you notice it.
Yeah, because you're convinced that the scene must stay, and then you pull it out and then you realise that you didn't miss it. Filmmaking is about the film in itself. I mean, it's all mind tricks. So your mind is constantly, it's investments. So once you've made an investment, in fact, we had this very conversation, once you've made an investment into a scene, you don't want to let go because it means you're cutting your investment.
We didn't do this because we like you. We did this because we are you.
Are you both happy with the final cut?
Jim and I, 2 weeks before the end, we started to feel the first vibrations of negativity quaking their way towards us. So my arse clucked a bit. And we knew it was going to anyway. Jim and I had this discussion halfway through the edit, and Jim said to me, you realise you've got to get a bit rogered on this. If it is what you're saying it is, then you're going to have a hard time on this initially. And then he always predicted that it would do well on DVD. Of course, the film maker never wants to hear that because he wants it to do well at the box office. But anyway, so I started clucking a bit before the film came out, because the first really vitriolic reviews came out somehow, I can't remember, but they started to come through. And so Jim and I said, he shut me up, sat me down and said, no, you watch it, and if you've got a problem with it, I'll take something out. And me, him and a couple of chaps sat down, went through it top to tail. I couldn't find a problem with it. Good one.
No, not at all.
I couldn't, sat there and I was calm until the assault really smacked me. And then I had to review it again, but I just couldn't, there's nothing that I would have changed. And I mean, it's by far a film that I'm happier that I've made than any other film I've ever done.